So we've put out a special episode today to talk about what's happened at our business. If you follow us on our socials, you'll know already that as behind us, we've had a fire in our Warehouse 2 shed. So work's kind of already started this week. We've got machines on hire trying to repair what the damage has caused, just having a look at what needs replaced and what we can rescue. Power washers, we're doing that just because it's all smoky in there, and you'll see a before and after from the clouds and smoke and the difference it makes. So yeah, we'll pass you on to Chris, who's going to tell you about what he did on the call out.
So as you can see, we are absolutely devastated after having a fire in our facility on Saturday night. It was actually myself that took the call from the alarm monitoring service. When they called, they told me that they had activated the fire surface because smoke had been detected. I arrived on site at 10:02 to be greeted by the sight of flames bellowing out the front of the building where the Northern Recycling sign was. I entered the yard and activated the lights on Warehouse 1 so that when the fire service arrived, they'd be able to see clearly around the yard any obstacles and hazards and so on. And I liaised with the commander. We agreed that I would remove all of the plant equipment that was in our parking area quite close to the fire, which I obviously removed everything. I was then asked to get one of the diggers and rip down a roller door so that they had access to tackle the blaze from more than one angle. And then unfortunately that wasn't enough and we had to pull down a second door. So yeah, once the second door was pulled down, the firefighters tackled the blaze from 3 different directions. You can probably see around me, they had one hose coming in from the door on my right, one directly behind me, and you may not be able to see it, but they had a hose come in the far side of the pile. So they're tackling it from 3 sides, and then the ladder unit arrived and they tackled through the burnt out skylights. So we had 4 hoses running, and I believe they were each applying 1,000 litres per minute of water to the fire. So after the firefighters had been tackling the blaze for around 2 hours, the flames were suppressed enough for them to request the help of Jamie and myself, where we used the telehandler to reverse into the door on my left, which I showed you earlier, and grab piles of waste to take them outside where they had another hose hosing them down straight away, and the hoses inside continued to hose the pile as we spread it. We did this for a further 2.5 hours before I came in with the digger to my left, in fact the JS130, and I just spread the waste around within the warehouse so the firefighters could tackle any hot spots. We were pretty much fully extinguished by 4 a.m. After I received the phone call from the alarm monitoring service, I called Ewan and I had to break the devastating news to Ewan that his new warehouse was on fire. On the Sunday, I came back in the afternoon and met up with Ewan, where we had a quick survey of the damage, and then we went to check the camera systems to see what footage had been caught and try and identify an ignition source. So you're now going to hear from Ewan, who's going to go over the plans to get us fully operational again within Warehouse 2 and how we move forward.
Well, where do you start? Our beautiful facility up in smoke. It's really heartbreaking. We got the call 10 p.m. at night on Saturday. I was actually out with friends. Chris, thankfully, was local and he's done an amazing job, got here quick, and I think to be honest, we can credit him with saving the building, along with obviously the fire brigade, who have done an amazing job. But yeah, I was thinking it just seems so ironic that in one of our previous blogs I was talking about fire in skips and the worry about fire in waste facilities, and here we are just a short time later having had a devastating fire. We don't really know what's caused it, to be sure, but it's like, having spoken to everyone else in the industry and our own suspicions, it's almost certainly a battery of some sort. We'll have a look at the footage later on. We've got a lot of information to share. The fire started in the heart of the waste and worked its way up. Nobody had been near the pile for at least 30 hours as far as I've investigated back. I've watched that through in camera. So it's not like somebody's put a machine in and bashed a battery or something like that. It's perhaps, I've spoken to others in the industry, it's perhaps a rodent or a rat, I'm sorry, but waste facilities have rats. It's perhaps dislodged something deep in the pile, and a metal has arced a battery, or two batteries have touched each other. Who knows? But it started deep in the heart of the waste, worked its way up, and then as soon as it got out and it created its own chimney for oxygen, it just took off. And here we are with this result. So the fire started deep in the waste in the corner here. You can see the concrete, you can see the ridges on the concrete. That's the reinforcement in there, the surface of the concrete. So actually even the heat has lifted the surface of the concrete off. You can see the bent purlings that support the sheets all the way up through the roof. The fire brigade actually pushed through these vents to get water from their tower down into the waste, which was really effective. The fire itself was contained within a 4 or 5 metre square, but as we'll show you as we go around the building, the heat on the thermal cameras rose to 600 degrees. And that heat was contained within the roof space in the building. So every single light fitting throughout the whole building melted and fell off. All the security cameras, all the cabling, everything's melted and fallen off. There's soot everywhere throughout the building, and we've got our own guys that are doing a great job of jet washing that down and cleaning up. And actually what you're looking at today is really very tidy. So this is Wednesday. Fire was on Saturday night from 10 p.m. right through till 4 or 5 in the morning on Sunday. And but the boys were in on Monday, cleared all outside, all the waste that had to be dumped outside. In here the last couple of days, jet washing the walls, tidying up the waste and doing a fantastic job trying to get us back up and running. In many respects, we've been extremely lucky. That might seem ironic to say that, but we've still got a building and we're able to operate. So it could have been a whole lot worse. But here's an example of some of the lucky escapes we've had. This here is a light fitting. There's another one. A melted blob of plastic. There was 15 of these hanging throughout the building, spaced evenly all the way through the building, and every one of them melted and fell. I think it's a simple thing, like the catches, the screws to hold them on go into plastic. Plastic melts, the lights drop. So it's just the kind of things you don't necessarily think about. So all the new fittings are going to be metal from now on, not necessarily fireproof, but at least they're not going to drop. My big worry is this: we've got a plan for the future now, and we've got to think about all these little details and how we can improve on them. There's another light fitting, I'm trying to point it out there, look, landed right on top of the waste. Imagine that had been flaming at the time, set this side off. We'd had a very sorry situation. So daft as it sounds, we've had a really bad experience, but in a lot of respects we've been very lucky. One of the nice things about the waste industry is that, since the fire, the messages I've had from all over Scotland, I've had phone calls, offers for help. It's been really heartwarming, and it just kind of gives you a boost in a difficult, challenging time. But these conversations have also kind of talked about fire, and for the 7 large facilities that people have spoken to, bigger facilities than ours, every one of them has had a substantial fire, some of them more catastrophic than we've had, and every one of them puts the blame on batteries. It's given me this knot in my stomach of realisation that it's actually not, this is our one fire. I'm actually realising this is probably our first fire, and it is something that we're going to have to design into the building to cope with, make plans around. We're going to have to spend more money. It's in any risk assessment, health and safety, fire risks, people, you've got to try and eliminate and reduce the risks. And we are at the mercy of customers and users of waste services and their lack of knowledge. And putting batteries in fires is just a common. Putting batteries in skips is unfortunately a very common occurrence. Since the fire just yesterday, we had just a casual look, 3 of us for 5 minutes looking through the waste, and we found 7 batteries. We've come over this side of the site to kind of get away from the noise. The boys are jet washing the walls to remove the soot and so on, and weren't able to heat ourselves. So just to progress from that last kind of section there, the amount of fires that have been in the waste industry, as a result, it's becoming really difficult to find insurance companies to cover your business. So we pay a lot of money to have that building insured. It is insured. So we're lucky in that respect. But I've heard some horror stories just in these phone calls with my colleagues in the waste industry across Scotland, that insurance companies fighting them not to pay. One company never got a penny and they had a catastrophic fire. Or the premiums become so expensive that it's uneconomic to run your business. We pay £25,000 a year just to insure our 2 buildings. It's nothing else. There's a whole lot of other insurance costs in the business on top of that, but that's the element for the buildings. And there's a £25,000 excess. So the first anything goes wrong in there, a small fire or a big fire like this, we're in for another 25 grand straight away, plus whatever excuses the insurance company come up with not to pay you the balance of the things you need. So luckily for us, I'm thinking it's a total of £50,000. That's really painful, but we're going to be able to survive it. Hopefully we'll get some of that back from the insurance company. We'll wait and see. But it's a real issue, and a lot of the other waste companies they use a term called self-insure, and that's just a posh term to cover the fact that they don't insure their buildings. We don't like using that term, but that's the bottom line. And say you've got a £3 million building, to insure that would probably be £200,000 or £300,000 a year if you're in the waste industry. So these guys invested heavily in water-based fire prevention systems, fire suppression systems, and they've taken that's their view, and that's the way they can run their business commercially. So they're running a risk, like we all are. So I don't know what the way forward is. I think we're going to have to invest heavily in one of these water systems as well.
So we're all absolutely gutted about what's happened with our new warehouse. Literally sitting at home on Saturday night watching the TV, and we get a photo into our management WhatsApp group from Chris of the building up in flames. So I literally jumped in the car from Conan, came out here to see what was going on. There was fire engines flying past me on the road. There's not much I could do in terms of the actual fire, but we just wanted to be here for rerouting the vehicles on Monday. Myself, Holly and Katie, we all just came into the office and looked at what our vehicles were due to be doing on Monday morning, and we managed to reroute them to different disposal sites so that we weren't taking any waste into us here at NRS. So we looked at all the wheelie bin vehicles and the skip lorries and where we could divert them to. We were lucky we had our contingency plan in place, which meant we were able to deal with the vehicles accordingly and reroute from a logistics point of view.
We've moved back inside now because the weather has taken a turn. So just to top it all off, we've had the earliest snow for many years, 2 or 3 inches over the last couple of days. So we decided to move into the warmth of the office to kind of film the rest of the messages. The positives, no one was hurt, all my team are safe. So that's brilliant. You know, we're up and running. We're looking after all our customers. We've not missed a beat, so nobody will be aware unless they've seen it on social media. All our bin lorry collections getting done, our skips, our confidential waste, the whole thing just happened. So that's really testament to the hard work Katie has put in. You know, we've built these business continuity plans, and you know, it's a thought when you sit down to write one of these, and you know, you try and visualize what could go wrong and what impacts it could have, and who do you need to phone, and the list of all the suppliers and their phone numbers, all the scenarios drawn out and thought through. So that really worked, and that made a huge difference. And we literally never missed a beat, which is fantastic. So you know, in the adversity, there's some huge positives. In terms of support, people really are amazing, and I feel quite humbled by the calls we've had and the messages. You know, family, friends, business associates, other waste providers, and you know, especially you know, Richie's and Aviemore and Finney's and Inverness. They've really stepped up and helped us, and they're taking some of our waste, which has really taken the pressure off us to kind of get things back onto an even keel. So a big thank you to them. So as well as that wider community, the resilience and support we've had from our own team has been fantastic. They've really mucked in, worked hard, you know, in all sorts of weather out there. It's not just the guys in the yard, the people in the office here as well, just to make sure everything runs and we get back to normal. The clean-up operation's well underway, and we're kind of, you know, we've got a nice, clean, workable yard again. We just need to get some contractors in working on the building, which is kind of in progress as well. So, you know, up against it, you know, it shows people's true character, and we've been lucky that everyone's stepping up and doing a fantastic job to get us back on track. How do you finish up on an episode like this? Can't deny that it's left us with a lot of uncertainty about the future. But we're going to sit and we're going to strategize and we're going to work out ways to minimize the risk. You know, what actions do I want to see happen? We need to get the word out to the public, contractors, anyone dealing with waste, that is disposing of waste, that how important it is to keep batteries in a separate waste stream altogether. The facilities are there, people are just not using them. So we need that message out. In terms of our own, we've got to accept that that's not necessarily always going to be fulfilled properly. So we need to minimise the risk in our facility. So we're looking at, you know, quotes of 300,000, and I'm not exaggerating. That is one of the lower quotes we've had for a proper fire suppression system. So a sore one, it's not going to add any profit to our business, but maybe going to let us continue, help me sleep at night, maybe even go on a holiday occasionally without worrying about it. What am I going to face? When's the phone call going to happen? You know, so it's rebuilding. The electricians are in there, getting on with it. They've been amazing. They've been very quick to respond. We're going to have lights again very shortly. We're waiting on the camera guys, and when we get the cameras fitted, we'll be insurance compliant again. So we'll be able to start working. Right now we can't use that building because there's all the fire systems have melted, they're gone. So if we started operating in there, it could be midnight, the fire could go off, no one would know. So we need to get all these things reinstated and we'll get back on. So it'll make us stronger. We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about fire I didn't realise myself. And we're working, the first meeting I have tomorrow morning is with one of the big fire suppression providers in the country. And we're going to see what ideas they've got. I'm going to research it and pick the best solution for us. But tough times, but we'll learn and we'll move on.